Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football presented by Texas Road. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined daily by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking. Get those questions in as well. We'll get to those here in just a little bit. It's also 67 days away from kickoff, so be sure to tell us who your favorite number 67 is.
Yeah, no, now all the kids are entering. All the kids are going to start entering the chat now.
That's right. But guys, recruiting, I mean, that's been the hot topic over the last few days. It's going to be again today as the Longhorns hook another one in defensive lineman Jason Johnson, Jerry.
Yeah, out of Atascocita High, a guy that Texas offered in June of 2025. And look, Texas has stayed on him. And we've talked about him a lot. I mean, Kenny Baker stayed on him, recruited him, had him on campus multiple times. There was about three guys that, Kasai Curry, obviously, and then you had your out-of-state guys around Kasai Curry that were top targets. In state, there was about three guys that Texas continued to evaluate, and they walked away with Jason Johnson being their guy that they were going to push for, and that was out of Stewart and Pearland is really the two guys it came down to. And then obviously the kid at Barbers Hill got into that group late. But I think Texas really liked the physicality of Jason Johnson. I think there's an appreciation for that Atascocita program as well and how they coach those guys up, the competition they play against, the physicality. And I think with Jason Johnson, another thing I was told yesterday is kind of a scheme versatility is where I think Texas, Will Muschamp, Kenny Baker, those guys really liked him, Bobby. But a guy who I said on our videos, I said yesterday, his best football is way out in front of him because of the guys that are coming in that are committed on defensive line. Physically, he has the farthest to go to get to that 300-pound range. He's in that 275, 280 range. So, his best football is going to be way out in front of him. This is a guy that will develop physically. Obviously, technique's always a development with these guys, but he'll continue to develop physically. But Texas likes where he can go, certainly can go as a player because of the hand strength, and the length he has, the quickness of his feet. Pick Texas over Vanderbilt, LSU, and Cal.
Yeah, hey, Jerry, here's the real reality of it right now, right? Texas just keeps getting commitments. And so now we're at 21 overall on the campaign. Jason Johnson makes that, the seventh in the last 10 days. That have picked the Longhorns. And so Texas right now is literally, finishing out this class to some extent. And Jason Johnson, the latest, we've got another one coming up, we believe, tomorrow. It's a real big possibility. That's Brandon Sherard out of Pearland. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But these 21 commitments, Jerry, if I'm, looking at it from a big picture perspective, I think they're hitting on all their needs and really bolstering the lines on both sides of scrimmage. We talked about what Texas wanted to do in recruiting this campaign, and that was primarily just keep increasing the quality and quantity of players on the roster, specifically at those need positions that they want to develop over time. They're doing that along the defensive front with a guy like Jason Johnson, Tyler Alexander, last week, Kasai Curry, before that, Jabarius Garor, Derwin Fields. You get the picture. A lot of guys right now Texas got on defensive line, on offensive line. They're getting not just interior guys, but also guys that can help at tackle. They're still after another tackle as well. But I look at this, and I think that Steve Sarkisian, Brandon Harris, that crew has done a really, really nice job. And, of course, now they're, ranked in the top 5 in the recruiting class, which is something that everybody was worried about beforehand. Here's the 21 commitments you mentioned. I forgot to mention there Cameron Hall, who may end up being the best of all of those guys at edge. He's got the frame and the size, and really, really good player. I think that, we look at it, Jerry, and is there a position right now that you would pick, say, I don't know that they hit it, other than linebacker, who obviously you look at that list, there's not a linebacker. Is there, other than maybe Garor, to your point?
Garor's an overhang, yeah.
But is there a position you think they still need to influence pretty heavily, or do you feel like this is a really, really solid foundation.
Yeah, I think a couple of things for me. I think one more offensive tackle, obviously, and Ishmael Kamara seemingly trending towards Texas. Decision could be the first half of July, or expected the first half of July. We'll see how early that comes at the start of July. We don't expect it July 1st, obviously, but we'll see how early in July a potential decision comes from Ishmael Kamara. So second offensive tackle, that would give you 5 offensive linemen early in the class. I think that's a good, solid number for Texas if they can get Kamara over the finish line. That linebacker, obviously, I count Garor as a linebacker, but he's that overhang guy. I mean, he's not going to play hand in the dirt much for Will Muschamp. He's going to be more that stand-up type of backer that plays that overhang, that rushes off the edge, and he can play in space as well. And Cameron Hall's so interesting for me because, like, I have a feeling he's headed to 275, 280. I think he's going to be a big guy. I mean, when you see him in person, his frame is not – I mean, he's closer to 250 now, I think. I think those are some old weights on him. But I'll be shocked if he's not a 280, 290-pound guy in time. Like, he's got a big frame. So Texas may have one edge in this group in Derwin Fields and one overhang linebacker in Garor. But on the interior, when you consider Cam Hall, that he's going to be kind of that 5 tech, that is going to be some pass rusher 3 tech, I think long term. I think Texas, the interior defensive line guys are really, really good in this class. I mean, Kasai Curry and Tyler Alexander can play over the ball or can also play in a shade. So they have some versatility there, but you got 2 potential over the ball players in this class. Jason Johnson brings that size. Obviously, he's going to be a 300-pound player. And then Cam Hall. I really like what they've done on D-line. Linebacker, obviously an inside backer. Somebody inside. But again, what we've talked about with that is, look, would Texas have taken Joakim Gouda if he wanted to come? Yes. Would they have taken the kid from Bosco? Yes. They didn't get either one of those guys. Gouda was a lean to Georgia going in, but Texas gave it their all. They backed off a couple of outside backers in this class. So they even had on campus, and at one time backed off a couple of those guys. So they're trying to be very selective there. I think is a big part of what they're doing. I expect them to go in on a linebacker senior year. I think we know enough about Steve Sarkisian's recruiting that they will fill a need. But I also think Texas is looking at retention. And I think that's why maybe they were slower to move on a couple of guys is, look, that 5-year rule gives you the ability to bring a Brad Spence back. That was not a part of the equation 4 or 5 months ago. So now I think they're kind of looking at, okay, and our young linebackers, we think those guys are going to be really good players. How are they going to make moves from an NIL perspective to retain all those guys? So I think that's caused them to maybe move a little slower. I do expect them to fill a need there. I do think they have a need to be filled. I mean, look, they could bring back Cryer too, I believe. So, I mean, like there's some things going on there that I think are playing into, but I do expect Texas to fill a need at linebacker. I do think they still have a need at high school linebacker in this class. I think, look, if Greedy James flips to LSU as expected, if Texas can win on Brandon Sherard, we're about to talk about Sherard. I think he's a very talented player. Texas will still have 4 DBs. They would have one true, probably safety prospect in Junior Tupou of that group. So maybe there's a need late for a safety in this class as well. But I think other than that, I mean, look, obviously what's left on the board is Landon Williams-Callis, right? Okay, then there's the receivers, Monshun Sales. You hope to get either Royal or Sales in the recruitment, but there's one more running back on the board. I think there's one more offensive tackle on the board right now. I think they're very happy with defensive line as a whole with that. And I do think there's an inside linebacker spot that'll need to be filled. And I do think there's a possibility of one more safety in this class.
Hey, Jerry, as I'm looking at this.
But the point, if they can win out for Sherard, and if they win on a couple of those big guys coming up in early July, Texas is sitting there with a number 2 or 3 ranked class going into the season with a couple of needs left. That's a pretty good place to be.
What I was going to say there is, look, Texas started about a month ago with 11 commitments.
Yep.
Okay, or 10. And now a month into this, they're at 21. So we had said June was going to be the month, and we've been saying that since really January. And it has turned out to be true, and things have fallen the Longhorns' way. And so hats off to the coaches, in my opinion. Let's talk a little bit more about Brandon Sherard. But first, I need to say thank you to our sponsor of today's live stream. That is our friend Rick Vavro and the guys over at Texas Road. They are your full-service solution for major road projects in and around Austin, with the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, concrete, and asphalt. Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes. They're able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. Once again, that is Texas Road, as well as their sister company, Austin Underground. If you've got work that needs to be done for a big building out in either downtown or outside somewhere, make sure you check out the guys at Austin Underground as well as Texas Road. Thanks to Rick Vavro and his team for sponsoring On Texas Football.
All right. Well, you mentioned it a second ago, but let's take a look at Sherard. Obviously, his decision coming up tomorrow, so let's get a little further in depth there. You're muted, Jerry.
Brandon Sherard will announce around 11:30 tomorrow morning Central Time. The guy, obviously, I saw him when he was younger, and the first thing that jumped out to me about him was his arm length. He has really good arm length. I bet he's a +4, +3, +4 wingspan guy. And obviously, as he gets more muscular, it doesn't look like that when you see him. But I bet that's what he measures at. A guy that, you know what really impressed me, though, about Brandon Sherard, I've said this, but we have different people that come into these shows every day, is, look, he had a Texas offer already. Will Muschamp, Mark Orfe, everybody been down to see him. It was going back and forth whether he was going to OV to Texas. It was set for the 19th through 21st. Then it looked like maybe it wasn't going to happen. He came and worked out for the Texas staff with a Texas offer. Kyron Brown drove from Amarillo to Austin to work out for the Texas offer. Brandon Sherard had a Texas offer. Texas got him to come back to campus. He wanted to come back to campus. You got to be willing to go work out in June, 2 days before your LSU OV, which was June 12th through 14th. He came down and worked out in person for Will Muschamp, for Mark Orfe, for Blake Gideon, for the whole defensive staff. That was that's a very competitive thing for Brandon Sherard to do. Not many guys that have offers and visits set up like that those level schools, you're talking about Oklahoma, you're talking about LSU where he was going, are going to show up to work out. So that would check the huge box for me outside of a talent you see on the tape. And then he had a great visit on the 19th through 21st, and it's gone from LSU leading Oklahoma big time before that Texas visit to Texas and LSU battling it out. And there's some confidence in Austin ahead of this announcement tomorrow. But Bobby, I think he's a guy that really fits what Will Muschamp's looking for.
Well, I tell you,
he could be a big corner. He could play nickel. He could be a bigger nickel because I think he's going to carry 190 pounds at 6'1". But I think he's got cornerback skills, and I think he's got versatility as well.
I will tell you the thing that grabs me when I first watched his film is his ability to turn.
Yeah.
He's got swivel hips, and that means he's going to be able to attach quicker, react quicker, that sort of thing. Those are not like that right there. He's able to be in position to break on the ball sooner than most people are. And so I like him a lot. I think this is going to be it has the opportunity to be a big pickup for Texas late. I'm not so sure he's not. I mean, he could end up being the second best cover guy in that class.
Yeah.
With Meredith. I mean, I think Jackson's maybe the fastest, outright fastest. But he may be the second best natural cover guy. Tupou, I do think, is just that long-limbed safety that can fill the lane if he needs to. So I like this one a lot. It would be nice to see, because especially we think Greedy James, a young man out of Manville, likely to bolt to LSU at some point in the near future here.
Yeah, and Brandon Sherard, he battled a little injury, had a little bit of a shoulder his junior season. That's why I think that highlight tape was cut late, but he is good to go at this point. Obviously, Shadow Creek as a whole had an injury-riddled season over there. Chris Stewart had a shoulder injury, missed most of his senior. By the way, while we talk about Sherard, because sometimes we forget some of these young players at Texas. Sherard, obviously at Shadow Creek, same high school as Chris Stewart. I mentioned this last week because Chris Stewart's dad was in the chat. I've heard that Chris Stewart's really impressed the Texas staff since he's been in Austin. Like the work ethic, the day in, day out of what he's doing and producing for the whole staff, including obviously strength and condition and Torrey Becton, I think has impressed the Texas staff as a whole. So Chris Stewart, keep doing what you're doing, because when you hear things like that, just out of almost nowhere, that's a good sign for a kid. He's doing the right things.
We have a lot of recruiting questions, and so you mentioned Greedy James a second ago. Dave actually wants to know, Jerry, with Greedy James twisting in the wind, what are the chances of landing James Foster III out of Lancaster?
Texas is in a good spot for James Foster III. He's obviously a 2028 recruit. I mean, that's the thing. But Texas, he's going to be one of the top handful of safety prospects in the state of Texas. Texas is in a really good spot for James Foster III early on. He's been on campus multiple times. I think Mark Orfe, the defensive back staff's doing a really good job of recruiting him up at Lancaster High. He is a 2028 prospect, but Texas is a early leader for him for sure.
Dude, somebody woke up generous this morning.
We just had an influx of super chats. I'm going to jump right to this one right here from Brandon Morgan. Thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate you. Brandon says, good morning, OTF. I hope all is doing well. 67 more days. Time to bring the pain to everyone.
Boy, yeah. 67 days. You have a thing for us so we can talk about the 67 days. Thank you, Brandon, for the super chat. We appreciate you very much. Jerry does not have a corn dog to eat right now. So
I do not.
Otherwise, he would be. He's on trolling the rims of Florida, looking for football players and the beach at the same time right now. Look, number 67, Julius Whittier, probably the biggest name on this. He is the man that broke the color barrier at the University of Texas. He has a statue out in front of the Longhorn Hall of Honor at the stadium. He is a person that helped take Texas to a new dawn in football. Very proud of him. Glenn Halsell is a name that a lot of people will recognize that are a little bit older. He was an All-American on the 69 National Championship. And then Jay Humphrey, Jerry, doesn't he have a golf? You're always into golf. Doesn't Jay Humphrey have a golf tie?
That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's been a long time ago in his life, but he once was, yes.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely once did. Yeah, I mean, it's a Julius Whittier. You know, it's amazing how many, not amazing, but when you're around the campus, you know, how many people stop that are walking around the camp, they're walking around the stadium that maybe haven't been there before, and they stop and they read about Julius Whittier, and then they take a photo of that statue outside of the stadium. It's one of the things you see more. The more you're around the stadium, more you're around the football facility, you'll see people every day come by there. Very cool. I want to mention. Somebody mentioned him in the Sandman may have. Dallas Griffin wore 67 at Texas, won the Dratty Award. So
did he wear 67?
I'm pretty sure he wore 67 at one point. Yeah.
Maybe at one. Is that the number he finished with though?
Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah, it is. Congratulations, Dallas. Now, what is the Dratty? The Dratty is the academic All-American.
He was the first academic Heisman winner at Texas, and he's gone on to be a very successful human being, as you would expect. He's an American energy industry executive, so he has done very well in his post football life. But he took home the Dratty, the academic Heisman of college football. So we need to mention. Shout out to Dallas.
Is it okay if we blame Blake for messing that up? I mean, right? That's Blake's job to do the numbers every day. Blake, you forgot Dallas Griffin.
Who sent me the original list, Bobby?
That would be me.
I'm just curious.
That would be me. My apologies.
We got some of those other super chats, and thank you again, Brandon. Really do appreciate that. Juan Garza here put one in. Thank you, Juan. He says, "Are you all worried about Meredith? What he said about A&M, that he loves them to death, but Texas was a business decision. What do you all think about that?"
I was not there. I don't know how that question was asked or why it was asked. So I don't really have a comment on that. But I would say John Meredith's mom's a huge fan of Texas. And John is not a fan of Texas as well. But I'm not going to comment on that. I wasn't there. I wasn't around. I don't know how that question was asked, why that question was asked, who was around the kid when the question was asked. There's a lot that goes into that at the opening.
It's one of those things when you start parsing every word, you're going to get some quotes you don't like. I'm sure there are quotes out there that if you parsed them with Jerry Hamilton, we'd all end up in jail.
Yes.
So that to Jerry's point, these guys get poked and prodded a lot. They really do, especially at an event like the opening, and which is a great event. Nothing against it, or nothing against guys, being interviewed on campuses or after they leave, etc. You're going to get, with these high-profile guys, you're going to get some responses sometimes that, if you are just looking without context or without syntax, you're going to be in trouble. So I would agree with Jerry. Man, maybe he loves A&M. That's great. Maybe he loves Texas too.
That's what I was going to say. I will say this. There's been a lot of kids over the years that love 2 or 3 schools.
Yeah.
And can only go to one. So I know that's, from a fan's perspective, that's hard to hear, that a kid could love a Texas and an A&M, or a Texas and an LSU, or if you're in the state of Florida, Miami and Florida State. That's like, for the fans, that's like, hell no, how can you do that? But the kids do that more times than not. Look, you just went through it with Parker Livingston.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Because he did love
still going through it. Going through it.
He did love Oklahoma growing up, despite what some people say. Didn't mean he didn't love Texas too, but he loved Oklahoma.
All right. Host de Tejas says, since it's not likely we land both, can you compare and contrast Royal and Sales? And would there be a preference of one over the other?
I don't think there's a preference per se, because they're both top 10 prospects in America, and they both play wide receiver. Look, I think Sales is much more of the traditional outside Cam Coleman. Now, I'm not comparing him, type receiver. He's not a guy that's necessarily going to move around a ton. He's a 6'5", going to be.
You talking about Sales is 6'5".
Sales.
I
said Sales like Cam Coleman, traditional X outside wide receiver. So like, he's going to be a 6'5", 210, 205, 210, 215-pound guy. So him and Easton Roll they're very different wideouts. I mean, Easton Roll, you can move all around. Easton Roll, you could line up in the backfield some. He's 215 pounds now, 214. So there's different receivers. But the way Bobby, as crazy as it sounds in recruiting, if you're in on both those guys, you want to get one. I mean, the thing is, it's no different than LSU. They have both of them in for OVs. They're hoping to get one of those guys. You're not saying, oh, we're going to get both. That's not, if something happened and you got both, you just all high five each other, but you're hoping to get one of those guys. But I think they're totally different receivers. Eastern Royal obviously has the juice, as much speed at 215 as any receiver in recent memory coming out of high school, running 10-1-7. That's his reality. Sales at 6'5", with the speed, with the vertical ability, with the physicality he brings. They're the reason they're both ranked where they are. I actually agree that both those guys rank very highly, but they're both different wide receivers too.
I'm with Jerry here. Look, it is rare that you kind of agree on the top ranked wide receivers in the country. And this year, everybody agrees who they are. It's Easton Royal and Marshawn Sales. Now, that doesn't mean other receivers aren't good and aren't going to play pro football. But let's take that off the table. I really, really like Easton Royal because I've seen him fight for the ball downfield. And not that Marshawn Sales can't because he's 6'5", but Easton Royal has made some competitive catches that you don't always see 6'1" speedsters or 6-foot speedsters make. I mean, look, Xavier Worthy, as fast as they get, right? He didn't make a lot of contested catches in college. Okay. Easton Royal makes more contested catches in his film than Xavier Worthy did, but has the same level of speed. So what would you do with that if you're Steve Sarkisian? It'd be called bombs away. Lane Kiffin's thinking the same thing, and that's why he's putting up a fight. Both of them. You know what I mean? And so from that standpoint, I see that fit. The issue with Sales, and this is where Jerry was going with that big body. I mean, you talk about want to run ball control, power, RPO type stuff. I don't know that there's a better guy in the country than Marshawn Sales. I mean, he's a state finalist in the 100 meter. He's 6'5". Jerry, one of the bigger pieces for me that I heard from Jerry over the weekend when he visited was his attention to detail with the coach's office. And that tells me that guy's likely going to maximize his ability. Like that kind of early, we talked about if a pup's going to bite, he's going to bite early, you know, or if a dog's going to bite, he's going to bite as a pup. I think that kind of thing makes me like Marshawn Sales. I just think they're two different types. So the question I have is which one is slightly more rare? Maybe Easton Royal's slightly more rare because no one else runs a 10-1-7. How about that? There are other big receivers. There are other, good RPO guys. I think that Easton Royal, he just runs so well. I mean, it's hard to quantify that. I mean, let me ask you this: is Tyreek Hill? What was the value of him at his best before he got, now that he's a little older? He may have not have been the highest rated receiver in the NFL, but he may have been the most valuable.
Yeah, his acceleration was ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. And so, there are other great receivers, though. Nobody's saying CD Lamb wasn't a great player,
No. Even in this class, Nick Lanier, the kid going to Miami, I've seen him really good. He's really good. I mean, like he's the next guy. And we always got to remember, where was Malachi Toney? He was a reclass, and then what happened? So the thing about Marshawn Sales, that really, Bobby mentioned that. I was really taken aback by that when people around the program say that was similar to Kelvin Banks. You're like, oops, that one's going in the memory bank for later. Because when you start getting compared to as a young professional, the way you are, just the way you look people in the eye, and the questions you ask, you're asking the right questions after hearing what somebody says to you. You're dialed in. You're locked into every single conversation. There's not a lot of 17, 18-year-olds that are going to be locked in like that. And it's part of what made Kelvin Banks who he was. He came in with a real focus and that young professional mindset. And when you hear people say that, similar things about Marshawn Sales, similar people that saw it before and have seen it in a couple of other guys at Texas, you're like, okay, we're going to put that one in the memory bank for later to reference that one in 3 or 4 years if he ends up signing with Texas.
Jermaine Bishop.
Yep.
Guys like that. They get it.
Richard Wesley's gotten a little bit of that. Richard Wesley's a funny guy. Like on social media, our interview with him, you go archive it. He's a funny guy, and I love him. But when it's football time, he's getting some of that too.
Hey, Blake, before we get to the next ad break, I wanted to bring this up real quick.
Yeah.
R. Charnell says, Culver's now the official sponsor of Wisconsin football. Time to get Elon to step it up and get a patch and buy a QB or two. I want to mention the reason I want to bring this up is not only that Culver's is the Wisconsin football. One of the Texas Associate ADs is a possibility for the Wisconsin athletic director's job. That person shall remain nameless for right now, but I wanted to put that out there. That is something that we're monitoring right now, and we'll see if that comes to pass. But Culver's at Wisconsin, the info I have actually, that's interesting. Above the Big Ten.
Woo! You're
like
one
that?
more above Under Armour from looking like a PGA Tour shirt. Oh.
Yeah. So Texas, let's talk about the patch. Keep that up there if you don't mind, or bring the Texas jersey up. In talking with someone close to the situation about what Texas is going to do and the potential for a patch, well, Texas purposely moved the SEC logo to the yoke, right where your neck ties into the jersey at the middle, and the Longhorn logo is still on that right chest. I do not expect SEC logo, or excuse me, another logo or patch on the Texas jersey in 2026. So for those purists out there that want to know if Texas is going to do that, as of right now, like as of yesterday, I don't think we need to expect that to happen. That looks bad, by the way. Why would you put it right above Big Ten?
Well, the problem.
Why wouldn't you put it on the sleeve?
That it's because they got the stripes.
I mean, look, they got 4 logos.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Culver's, they got Big Ten, they got Wisconsin, they got Under Armour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would you not put that?
They're not going to cover up the traditional 2 stripes on the sleeve, I suppose. But I guarantee they won't be putting anything above Under Armour.
That's probably true.
Look at Michigan State.
Yeah.
Right above the Big Ten logo.
Yeah.
That's
people
what
aren't
they're doing.
People aren't messing with their sleeves. That's interesting.
Why wouldn't you do what? Isn't that where that would go if you were Texas?
I would have
that starts to look like a NASCAR package. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's competing direct at. Yeah, that's ugly.
I mean, the Culver's patch looks cool. I agree with Jake Bayless. Sandman.
Whoa. You think the Culver's patch looks good right above the Big Ten?
No, I just say it looks cool. I like that.
Okay, you like their logo. Okay.
Sandman wants to put a beaver on an Aggie jersey plate. I don't think that. Apparently, that guy who started Buc-ee's isn't a big supporter of A&M. I could be wrong on that. I prefer him put beaver pellets on the bottom of the backside of the jersey.
I think he is. I think the word is that he is a big supporter of A&M.
Okay. They should put the beaver nuggets on the backside of the jersey at the bottom, especially come playoff time. Because, but then again, nobody would see them because they didn't go that. They didn't cross the end zone. That's what I would do.
That looks like a really busy jersey to me. Both of those do. I hope Texas doesn't do that. And if they do something, they need to use the sleeves, man. But as of right now, Texas is not supposed to.
Somebody get CDC's number for me. I think we should put corn dogs with mayo, like the state fair, at least for the Texas OU game, a patch. Bobby?
Well, they've done patches before, right? Remember the 100th anniversary? Case McCoy had the gold medallion.
Yeah.
Type stuff.
Just
outlined in letters in gold. Whataburger. I don't know. That's not the right color orange quite. HEB. Well, HEB, they've done a lot with UTSA because they're from that area.
Yeah.
I like the endemic folks. I do think Texas has a chance to, if they go in this direction ever, they have a chance to do something probably with a national sponsor in that category as opposed to only ones that are from Austin.
Yeah.
So Yes, like Dell. Although
Yeah.
Dell, I think his $1 billion has already been given to, Dell is not going to be one. I don't even know that Texas, by the way, has put out the opportunity for this on their jerseys. So let's be clear about that too. So I don't know that this is something that Chris Del Conte and his crew are actually shopping.
Hey, is Texas Tech NIL and rev share? Is Texas Tech announced the patch?
Double Eagle.
Are
No,
they going to
I don't.
I mean, that's all, I was actually wondering, Bobby. I was going the same place. Are they just going to put the double eagle on it?
Cody Campbell. I don't know. Gonna put a CC on it next to the TT. Cody Campbell, Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's why.
Real quick, while we're talking about these patches, Mario wants to know: does the SEC have to approve a corporate patch?
Good question.
Ooh, I don't know that.
I don't know that either. That's a good question.
I don't know that. Recently, one of the things that came up that was fun. Did y'all see the Oklahoma State one? And what it
Yes.
was? It was the Osage Nation, which just happens to be a casino.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I did see that.
They own a casino.
Yes.
Well, we don't have patches here, but we do have a couple of ad reads that need to be done. And Bobby, I need you to tell everyone about Zen AI.
I can do that, Blake. Thank you so much. Zen AI is the next version of social media. This summer, don't just watch the game, vibecast it. Zen AI is the home of vibecasting, a new way to capture and share real sports conversations. No studio, no fancy gear. Your phone's the whole setup. Arguing about who should have taken the last shot, breaking down every play, hit record, talk it out, and Zen AI turns that combo into a sportscast you can show or share as clips, reels, even TikToks. An AI producer works behind the scenes, cleaning up your audio, cutting highlights, and helping you tweak edits just by chatting in plain English. Go live while the game is on or record your hot takes after. Bring your own co-host or find another fan in Zen AI's network. This summer, Zen AI is paying new Vibecasters to launch their very first sportscast. Humans are the talent. AI is the infrastructure. Zen AI is invite only. Head to zen.ai to join the waitlist. That's zen.ai or tap the link in our show notes.
Thank you, Bobby. And I'm going to tell everyone this morning about Q Caller. We spend a lot of time around football right here on OTF, obviously between college football and high school football. We've seen how much the game has evolved. Back in the day, it was a helmet, shoulder pads, and then let's roll. But today, there's a lot more science involved, which is why I'm excited to talk about the Q Collar. It's the only FDA-cleared device in its category designed to help protect the brain from the effects of repetitive head impacts during sports. There really isn't anything else like it on the market. And at this point, you're probably thinking, well, isn't that what a helmet's for? A helmet protects the head. The Q Collar helps protect the brain. Now, my son Colt, his team at Comanche, they've incorporated Q Collar into what they're doing. So I've had a chance to see it up close. And the science behind it is actually very simple. The Q Collar applies light pressure to the neck, slightly increasing blood volume in the skull, which helps reduce brain movement during impacts. And it's built around science, not hype. The best part is the Q Collar is FSA and HSA eligible, so you can put those dollars to work. So when you're getting your family ready for next season, think helmet, mouth guard, and Q Collar. All you have to do is head to q30.com/OnTexas and then use promo code OnTexas for a free sleeve with your order. Once again, that's q30.com/OnTexas for a free sleeve, which is available in 15 colors with your order.
I got to ask you a question about this Q Collar and this whole mouth guard, etc. I'd love to get a scientist on, Blake, and explain what the different pieces are, especially for a lot of, we have a lot of dads in here, a lot of grandpas in here too, that want their young sons and grandchildren that are playing sports to actually gear up right. You know what I mean? I wonder what the science is today. Like, do you do it all basically when they're young? Is that kind of the game? Because me and some buddies were hanging out this weekend And we were talking about the head injury stuff. And one of the things that came up was, you see these pro players with mouthpieces and they don't use them. They're like, they're like, I don't know, like trinkets. They wear them like jewelry as opposed to actually using them. And I kind of wonder what's the whole protocol now? What's the right way? What's the right way to gear up nowadays for a young kid that's trying to get that going? Obviously, they're trying things like Q collar and mouthpieces and obviously new helmets and new helmet technology. So it would be an interesting conversation with somebody that really knew.
Yeah,
I'd like to be able to tell that to people. These are the 4 or 5 things you should do. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, helmet technology alone has come a long way over the last few years.
Oh yeah, I mean, last night
it has to. Look, we could do an hour on this, but when I looked at some old box scores when my dad coached, they're playing double the amount of plays in games
today.
Versus early 90s. Looking at high school box scores, double the amount of plays. And guys are bigger, stronger, and faster at a younger age. And it's mental tired as much as physical tired, right? When you get mentally tired on play 87 on defense in these spread football games, what are you going to do? You're going to lose your technique. And if you just put it all together, you say, okay, we're playing double the amount of plays, and the kids are bigger, stronger, and faster at a younger age. When you're tired, that contact is going to really be different because you're going to lose your technique. And it's a great discussion, and I love what they're doing to protect football players, because it's just playing a lot of plays now. When you just look back at football from the early mid-90s, where it's at today, and just due to difference in plays at a young age, we're talking bodies that aren't developed and minds that aren't developed. I mean, and so you're saying, okay, you're going to play 85 snaps on defense, 85 snaps on offense, whatever you do on special teams over here too. Think about a kid like Quandre Diggs, how many plays he played in the game. Think about Jermaine Bishop. How many of these guys are playing 100 snaps, 80 to 100 snaps in games? You're not mentally going to be locked in for all 100. And if you're not mentally locked in, you lose your technique.
Yeah. It's a good conversation, I think, because while I think technology is improving, football is still football.
Yeah.
It's a very rough and tumble sport. And so there are going to be injuries that happen.
Definitely.
Got to try to minimize them.
I didn't see that Lacey, the running back at Ole Miss, he is now a Q collar wearer. So
is he really?
He'll be wearing one this season. Yep.
Well, hope he forgets it in Austin. Sorry.
There's an Ole Miss offensive line joke in there somewhere, but we'll leave it alone until after the game.
I only care about safety so much, right?
All right, guys. Well, we got some more super chats that we obviously need to get to this morning, and we're going to start here with Bean. We'll go back to recruiting for just a moment. Bean says, I was a big Meredith fan, but Sir Jackson may have toned that down a bit. LOL. I really like Jackson's film.
Talking about Montre Jackson, young man out of Lakeview Centennial that committed to Texas on Saturday. Jerry, we talked about him. He's the fastest of the DBs that have committed. Ran a 10.53 100 meter. Still has good size. John Meredith, I think, first of all, he's a tremendous player, John Meredith is. But one thing about him is those tremendously long arms and closing speed. Like John Meredith really has special closing speed. I think Montre Jackson has more long speed than any of them. So if he can learn to turn and run, he's going to be the guy that you ask to cover some folks, if that makes sense. He's that you ask to cover the Easton Royal, who's running 10.17.
Yeah. And by the way, that 10.53 is a sophomore. He was injured for track his junior. Good find here, Blake. What's the date on this?
It's I don't remember. It is his sophomore spring in the spring of
Yeah,
his sophomore
he
year.
was hurt this spring for track and missed some of spring football. In fact, the day that Will Muschamp and Texas were by to see him, he was injured in the spring. So he battled that injury off and on. Yeah, very talented. He can really play moving forward. Like, he has real speed moving forward. And Bobby hit on it. I think as he learns technique-wise, I think his turn and run, that transition part of his game is going to improve because he has the makeup speed. I think it's through his transition part, but a really talented defensive back for sure. And his state, we talked about it all year. The state of Texas at corner was really good, in defensive back, really good in general in this class. There's going to be a number of guys that come out of this class, whether they go to Texas or not at defensive back, that are going to be really good players. I mean, you just look at obviously John Meredith is number one ranked guy, right? But you go down that list. Somebody earlier in the chat, and this is a good time for me to mention this, asked about Jaquan Snell in Texas. Texas sent a defensive staff up there to see him. They pursued him for a while. It was deemed that really wasn't going to be a good fit. That doesn't mean Jaquan Snell's not a talented football player, but I just think that was more of that wasn't going to be a good fit for Texas and Jaquan Snell. So that didn't happen. But this class of defensive backs, we've talked about Brandon Sherard in the state. Look, Josh Villamel, people remember, I saw him. People remember Texas kind of worked late on his brother for a while. Joshua Villamel at Fort Bend Travis, 6'2", 185-pound corner. There's a lot of guys. Cameron Robertson, who Texas originally had set up for an OV, then obviously things started moving with some other guys. They didn't bring him in. He committed to Houston. He's a 4-star prospect. People will stay on him. Eli Johnson committed so early to Ohio State, people don't even talk about him anymore. And, I mean, Montre Jackson, Josh Banks at Atascocita, the other corner opposite Torrey Blaylock going to Tech. Then you have Torrey Blaylock. I mean, this state is Talon Mayo's going to Ole Miss. I'm not sure about long speed with him, but good player. Blake Jenkins, Texas liked a lot. Like, Blake Jenkins is committed to Michigan as a corner. If he'd have told Texas, yes, I'm willing to play safety, then I think he could end up at Texas, but he wanted to play corner. So he ends up at a school that was recruiting him as a corner. Texas loved him as a safety. This defensive back class, the McCreary kid out of San Antonio going to Oklahoma is talented as well. This defensive back class in Texas is going to produce a lot of NFL guys, I think, in 3 or 4 years. I think the position, and there's always those guys in the state of Texas, don't get me wrong, but I think their depth of how good some of these corners are in Texas is going to end up producing a lot of guys in the NFL draft if enough of them stay healthy and stay on the path they're on. It's a loaded corner class in the state of Texas. I mean, Dylan McGee at Penn State, Texas would have taken him. Dylan McGee's really good. So, and they're not all going to be ranked highly because there's so many of them. And you always got to watch a kid. There's a kid named Jaden Bibbs going to Utah out of Coppell. Always have to go back and watch a corner or safety that Utah gets committed twice in the state of Texas. They normally end up outplaying a ranking. So the state of Texas loaded at defensive back in 27.
We got some more recruiting questions here. Then we got a couple of team ones that we'll get to as well. But Juan, thank you again, Juan. Appreciate you as always. Is Jaden Nelson, the commit out of Tech, still on flip watch in the season with the Brewster News rumors circulating?
His older brother is enrolled at Tech as a player. That's the difference there. I think that's the difference there. Jaden Nelson in his recruiting process was very open to not going to Tech, but I think there's a lot going on with that family that led him down that direction.
And the Brewster News circulating is that we reported yesterday. Look, I think it's imminent that he decommits from Tech, and I think that LSU is the likely home. Now, when I say imminent, I don't mean tomorrow. I don't mean today. I just think that's where this is headed based on what I'm being told behind the scenes. And so I feel comfortable in saying that Brewster, one of the nation's top prospects out of Cedar Hill, committed to Tech, back in January, Jerry, or even November. But the end of the day, it sounds like he just wants to play in the SEC. And LSU is going to make that a reality, I think.
I mean, and this is, look, and I always tip my cap. Cody Campbell's done some really good things for Texas Tech football. But what they're still going to battle from a recruiting perspective is these kids want to grow up playing in the SEC or at Ohio State or at Michigan or Notre Dame. That's still – these kids aren't growing up. It's like the Landon Williams-Callis recruitment to me is like SMU's in there and they're giving it their best shot, and I give them ultimate credit. Hell, maybe in the NIL world they shock people. But it's hard for me, especially having been down there at Randall, to imagine that Landon Williams-Callis didn't grow up thinking SEC, I like Oregon, Ohio State. That's just where the minds of these kids are at, and you still have to overcome that on some level. And if the door cracks at all, that kid's going to try to go the direction he always wanted to go, and Jalen Brewster, to Bobby's point, was SEC. And the first time I ever talked to him when I went to see the Colemans, it was SEC thoughts in his mind.
The other piece of it, I think that's important, if you think about it, like taking Landon Williams-Callis, for example, the running back out of Richmond, Randall. Even with the Big Ten winning the last couple of national championships, a couple of different schools, et cetera, you got to think about this. The SEC still rules the roost when it comes to the NFL draft.
Yeah, 100%.
And not just by a little. It's by a significant amount. And so if you're growing up, yes, you may love a college, but you really want to get to the NFL, right? That's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate football league. It really is. I mean, that shows you're a professional, quote unquote. You've made it, right? I think that those kids see that, and it is a big draw. Texas fought it.
And they lost a lot of battles.
Yes, because
I'm here to tell you, people can think what they want. I'm here to tell you, if Texas hadn't moved to the SEC, Colin Simmons would not be at Texas.
Right. There's a number of kids who would be. You couldn't you think you could go into Florida as easily?
No.
Alabama?
Nope.
It doesn't work that way.
I mean, the first time I ever talked to Colin Simmons was going into his sophomore year. And it was, I'm playing in the SEC. And that literally never changed when you would talk to him. That never changed. No, I'm playing in the SEC. I mean, that kid. Now, what's going to be interesting is if there is a little shift. It's not going to be a lot of shift because the majority of talent in America is coming from the deep South states and up through the Carolinas. And that's not going to change all the way to Texas, right? Texas, Louisiana, Alabama. We've talked about it. But if the Big Ten wins another national championship in a row, then do some of those kids that are that age of influence, 10, 11, 12, coming up, do they start to say, well, maybe I'm going to look here. Maybe you don't hear 6 SEC schools with them. You hear 3 Big Ten schools and 4 SEC schools, because the winning does matter a little bit and a lot of bit. But I still think the talent, if you look at where the talent is in the country, is always going to keep the SEC number 1 in terms of NFL draft picks. I mean,
enough stay home, and even the 3 stars become NFL player. It's just different.
Just think about it this way for the SEC, why they're going to be dominant in talent. 3 of your 4 biggest talent producing states are Texas, Georgia, and Florida. Period. You can start there and end the conversation. So then California's way out west, and their numbers have dropped in terms of talent producers. Georgia's on the upswing. Texas and Florida are pretty much stabilized year to year. One of them may lead the draft and draft picks. But when you have 3 of the top 4 states in the country, you're going to be a dominant conference in producing talent. And then you add the per capita states of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and it's game over.
More supers to get to, but first, Jerry, I'm gonna let you tell everyone this morning about Hayes City Store.
Talking about game over. The first time you go to Hayes City Store, you'll be back for the live music, for the Texas scratch-made Texas comfort food. They got the famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts. All of it's absolutely delicious, and all of it's from scratch. There's also live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house, perfect for game days. And they even have brunch served 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Sunday. Seems like a good place to go watch a little World Cup. Hayes City Store is dog friendly, and they have a tree net for kids. Don't mix the two. You'll end up with injuries. Join the folks at Hayes City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at hayescitystoretx.com. Hayes City Store, it's uniquely Texas and uniquely great.
Love us some Hayes City Store around here. All right, guys, more super chats this morning. Let's see here. I need to go back to Justin Yarbrough. He says, with recruiting, NIL, and the portal the way it is, what is the percentage kids that stay at one school their entire career? And with 100% retention, is it impossible? What do y'all consider the ideal percentage?
That needs to be a study done about that in about 2 years. See how many kids actually stayed 4 years. Once we get to that point where we can actually do a real study on it.
Well, you got to remember, there's going to be Colin Simmons of the world that stay somewhere 3 years.
Yeah.
It used to be right at 50%, and that was before the portal. You just have natural. We always talked about, Jerry, you sign 25, 12 to 13 are going to be on your team. That was the goal. What is it now? Is it 10 of 25? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do me a favor. Go look up the 2022 Ohio State recruiting class and tell me how many of those guys are still on campus for the Buckeyes. Take Texas out of it, right? So we know it's not a biased study just about Texas. But take another blue blood like Ohio State and tell me how many people are still on their squad. They probably signed 23 to 25.
They signed 21.
Okay, 21.
They had a bunch of 3 and out.
Okay, how many total?
Let's see. Devin Brown, the quarterback.
Gone.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I'd have to actually look at their roster. Devin Brown and Caleb Burton and Amari Abor, they struck out in Texas in that class. That's 3 off the top are gone. Kojo Antwi, a wide receiver. Hero Canoes at Texas. I mean, you lost George Fitzpatrick transferred, I know. I mean, so I'm already up to 6. I'm already up to 6 without really even doing the research to finish. I think 7 there I can see. So at least a third are gone, which means it's more than that.
Yeah.
That's just off the top of my head looking at it. Now, Sonny Styles is off to the pros, right? They've had some guys go out, but at least a third. So it's higher than that. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the 22 Ohio State class, Bobby, guys that are going to impact the game this year, Kenyatta Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, Caden Curry's gone now, I believe. So the offensive line guys are where it's going to be for them. Dallas Hayden, the running back's not there. So, yeah, I mean, I bet it's less than half at the end of the day.
I think your number, Justin, to my point, I think it used to be 50%, 55% that you would keep all 4 years or all 3 years. I think that number is going to go down to 40.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they can't contribute to the team, though, and then transfer like in year 3. Like a DeAndre Moore. I mean, think of it. DeAndre Moore started a couple of years. Parker Livingston.
Yeah.
He helped your team, but he transferred.
I think an interesting study will be in probably 3 or 4 years. It needs to get down the road. How many guys transfer from schools and still got drafted in the NFL? I think that's going to be an interesting one too, because I think there's some really talented players that are leaving Blue Bloods that you're going to see. I think there's going to be guys from Texas that left that are going to be drafted. I mean, CJ and I were at the Manning Passing Academy, and there was an SEC staffer. We'll say it now. It was a Kentucky staffer. They think Bo Barnes is going to be really, really good. There's players that are going to transfer out from every school whether it's NIL deals, whether it's, I'm not willing to wait 3 years to play and versus I wanted to get on the field after 2. I'm not willing to wait 3. There's going to be some really talented guys that leave the Texas, Georgia, Ohio States of the world, all these programs, and still end up being really good players and get drafted. It may not be a huge number, but it's going to be a number. I'm going to be interested to see how many of those guys there are too.
All right, let's see. Our next super chat this morning is going to come from Rocky P. I think it's the last of our recruiting one. Rocky P says, what's the update on linebacker recruiting? And when do we say the sky is going to start falling? It's almost July 4th, and I need some meltdowns.
Well, let's hope there's fireworks before the meltdowns. How about that, Rocky?
Yeah.
Texas has a few guys remain. Do us a favor. Like linebacker recruiting, we talked about a little earlier. Jerry thinks they're going to look at an inside linebacker during the season and try to find one, as well as maybe circle back to some guys overall. Can you put the guys that are still up there and available right now that we're kind of tracking so everybody gets a chance to understand who those are? Right now, Ismail Kamara is a big offensive lineman out of Gilmer. He could decide as soon as this week, but it could go on to running back Landon Williams-Callis. We think is going to be some point in the month of July. Monshawn Sales, the wide receiver out of Indianapolis. Brandon Sherard announces tomorrow. Did you say that was 10:30 or 11?
11 around 11:20, 11:30 in that area.
That's one we're really following closely for Texas. It looks pretty good right now for the Longhorns, but as Jerry likes to say, nothing's over until it's over in recruiting these days. And so I think that those are what we're waiting for, maybe for some fireworks. I've got to be honest, I don't see a meltdown over linebacker recruiting right now. And part of the reason I don't see that is because Jerry's mentioned there are a couple of guys that might have extra years available to them in Justin Cryer and Brad Spence. But I would add the idea that they think they got 3 guys last year that are all keepers, and Rocky Cummins, Cozy Okpala, and Tyler Atkinson. So that's I don't think they're hard pressed to oversign at linebacker right now. And Rocky P, when you don't feel that urgency, you're more willing to wait and see what's coming.
And that position, again, could be impacted by this 5 years because Justin Cryer and Brad Spence are eligible.
I literally just said those two names. I mean,
exactly. And so that is big. And when you look at it, so where I was going with that is there's a possibility Rasheem Biles could be the only backer they really lose. Because Rasheem Biles is eligible for the 5-year, but I think the thought right now is that guy's really good. So he would have bad would have to happen for him, injury wise, to probably return. And
Ty Anthony Smith would have another year too.
Yeah, I mean, so there right now, if you look at it, there's one guy. They're for sure going to lose in Rasheem Biles because he'll just be too good. And why would you come back if you're a 2nd round pick or something? Which I think he will be. So I think that's where Texas is coming from a little bit there. But I do think, with that being said, there will be addition to the class, but I think they're going to really look for that right guy. And I think it'll be an inside backer. And look, I think that another overhang type of guy is potential too, for what I'm hearing.
That's interesting.
All right, let's see. We have one other super chat this morning, at least as of right now. And this comes from Colt. Thank you, Colt. He says, good morning, fellas. Hook 'em. Who are 2 unsung heroes on each side of the ball that need to step up to give us a chance to win the national championship?
Well, clearly one of them is Hero Kanu. Right? Just play on the word. 2 unsung heroes. I think interior offensive line has to be good. So choose Connor Robertson and Brandon Baker or Lawrence Seymour or Jaden Chapman or Jordan Coleman, on offense. On defense, for me, Alex January really comes to mind. He's trying to take that next step in his career. And then whoever that second safety is, whether it's Xavier Filsaime or Derek Williams or Jonah Williams, whoever it is, those would be the guys for me. What about you, Jerry? You have two on each side?
Aesthetic?
Oh, not even on the side. So you got the kicker. Interesting.
Yeah. But on this schedule, it's going to be a couple of games.
Yeah, they definitely
that come down to it. So whatever side you want to throw him on, I think Cade Phillips is another one for me. I think this secondary is going to be really tested. And I think they need Cade to come through at that corner spot so they can be comfortable if they want to leave Kobe Black at safety. I think having the corner opposite Masco, if that corner spot ends up being really, because maybe it's just being at the Manning Academy, or maybe it's my thoughts the whole offseason, but you play so many talented quarterbacks that a couple of those guys are going to be on against you. They're going to be hot. And your secondary, as good as your pass rush is going to be and what Muschamp can create, I think the ability to cover is going to be huge this year because the quarterbacks are just too talented on the schedule. There's a lot of them.
The quarterbacks do put increased pressure on the secondary, in my opinion.
Yep.
I agree with that.
All right, guys, we got time for just another question or two. But first, Bobby, I need you to tell everyone about Texas Road one last time.
I can do it. They are your full-service solution for major road projects. Our friend Rick Vavro and the guys at Texas Road, with the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, concrete, and asphalt. Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes. They're able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. Again, that's Rick Vavro and the guys over at Texas Road. They are your full-service solution for major road projects in and around Austin.
And I meant to mention this earlier in the show, but I want to bring it up right now. Merrill says, happy 38th anniversary to my wife, Pat. She is my everything. So happy anniversary to you both. Hope you have a great one. All right, guys. Antoine here. Any updates on the guys we don't hear about often? Jordan Johnson-Rubell, Boswell, Chapman, Zealous Hicks, etc.
I think the last I heard of that group was Chapman is not going to just give Lawrence Seymour the starting left guard spot. So Zealous Hicks, I'm not so sure. I mean, he's got to show that he has a special skill set. And right now he hasn't. It hasn't shown. Boswell, frankly, I don't know that a lot is expected of him. Jordan Johnson-Rubell is a guy that could be a glue guy at safety. They really used him in that. I went back and watched the Michigan game last weekend, not this past weekend, the weekend before last, Jerry. And Jordan Johnson-Rubell played a really nice football game at linebacker.
Yeah, linebacker almost.
Yeah,
he's an instinctive football player.
Yeah,
that's the one thing he's instinctive and tough kid.
Yeah, and so, and I definitely think he's going to have a role on special teams.
Yes.
So those Chapman and JJR are the two that I expect to hear their name called a little bit this year.
And then we have one from DH Tex. He wants y'all to call your shot. Who scores the first touchdown of the season?
Man, you're making me think about this right now.
Bo Masco pick.
Wow.
Whoa. We need to get you on Prize Picks. That's got to be that would be a big winner probably. First
TD
like
a plus 8,000.
Yeah. It's so hard to predict those things.
It is.
I'll go with somebody. I'll just go with Ryan Wingo. Ryan Wingo or Emmett Mosley. Everybody will say, oh, they're going to throw it to Coleman in the red zone. And I think old Sark is going to say, let's start with let's get the old stuff in first and then start going to the new stuff.
Yeah. A lot of this depends on who gets the ball first too.
Hey, by the way, this is the odds-on favorite would be Arch, would it not? Arch scoring on a run.
No, I actually think
odds-on favorite. Who's the not necessarily who we think, but who would be the odds-on favorite to score the first touchdown?
Oh, I think it's actually Wingo if Texas gets the ball the first possession of the year. Because Sark's going to run something quick game to him.
He is. That's true.
And all you got to do is get one block and bust one tackle against Texas State and get to the sidelines, and the band starts playing. So the odds are Wingo if Texas gets the ball first.
I think that's fair. Fair.
You know where Sark's going with it and how he's going to do it early.
Yeah. That's funny.
All right, y'all. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Coffee and Football presented by Texas Road. We want to thank them along with Zen AI, the Q Caller, Q30, and Hayes City Store for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Great conversation, great super chats today. Appreciate all the questions. Bobby, what do you have for folks later?
Well, obviously, it's Tuesday. That means a recruiting breakdown. Jerry's going to try to figure out what's going on in recruiting, or actually articulate what's going on in recruiting for you guys, along with Jordan and Hank, I believe. Then we also have the live stream again tonight. We're also monitoring a couple other things going on within the University of Texas sports realm that may or may not surprise you, Jerry Hamilton. All right. Other than that, that's going to do it, I think. We got to, as far as ontexasfootball.com is concerned, Hank, Jordan, and others are writing articles today. CJ Vogel pop in there as well. Make sure you check us out over at the message board on ontexasfootball.com. A lot of fun going on over there.
About to drop some baseball notes as soon as we get done with this over there as well. So be on the lookout for that for you baseball fans. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell so you're notified anytime that we post content, go live, whatever it may be. In between that and on TexasFootball.com, we got you covered around the clock. And, of course, we hope you all have an outstanding day today. We'll be back tomorrow morning. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Welcome, Horns.